There are moments in life where everything you have quietly built gets to speak for itself, loudly, publicly, and at the absolute worst possible time for everyone who doubted you. That night was mine. I was standing near the edge of the reception hall at my sister Vivienne's wedding, holding a glass of sparkling water I had barely touched, watching my family perform their version of a perfect evening. The chandeliers above scattered golden light across the room. The band was playing something smooth and elegant, and somewhere in the crowd, people were whispering about me. Not the way people whisper about someone impressive. The way they whisper about someone they feel sorry for. I caught the tail end of what my Aunt Darlene was saying to a woman draped in a cream blazer and expensive jewelry. She gestured vaguely in my direction with her champagne flute, shaking her head slowly. That is Vivienne's little sister. Sweet girl, but honestly, she never figured herself out. The family tried everything. Some people just do not have the drive. I took a long sip of water and looked down at my phone. 11:47. The Wall Street Journal Sunday edition went live at midnight. My publicist had confirmed the embargo schedule 3 days ago. 13 minutes remained. Vivienne appeared at my side before I could think too hard about those 13 minutes. She looked breathtaking in her gown, but her smile had that familiar tightness around the corners that meant she was managing something. She leaned close and steered me subtly away from the group nearest us. "Brooke," she said, using the nickname only my family still used. "Do you think you could maybe stay toward the back for the rest of the night?" Her voice was gentle but deliberate. Daniel's parents are very accomplished people. His father is a circuit court judge. His mother runs a regional hospital system. They have been asking about you and I just do not quite know what to tell them. I kept my expression neutral. "What have you told them so far?" She glanced over her shoulder. "I said you were in between opportunities, that you were still exploring your path. I thought that sounded better than the alternative." I asked what alternative she meant, even though I already knew. She sighed. "Brooke, you are 26 years old. You do not have a permanent address. You travel constantly, and you have turned down every connection Dad and Uncle Raymond ever tried to offer you. At my own wedding, I had to stand there and explain to my new in-laws why my younger sister has no career to speak of. Daniel's mother actually suggested you might benefit from going back to school." I just nodded and said maybe. It was the easiest thing to say. She looked visibly relieved that I was not arguing, then swept back into the crowd with a practiced smile, immediately becoming the radiant bride again the moment she was 3 steps away from me. My mother found me about 4 minutes later. She had a way of appearing at exactly the wrong moment, wrapped in exactly the right outfit for maximum social authority. She was stunning in her deep burgundy gown, and she arrived at my elbow with a smile that did not quite reach her eyes. "Alexandra, why are you hiding over here?" Her voice carried that particular blend of concern and disappointment she had refined over several years of practice. "Come and be sociable. Though perhaps do not bring up work, or rather the lack of it. Just let people assume you are figuring things out." I echoed that back to her calmly. She blinked. "Well, what would you prefer I say? That you have spent 3 years doing nothing concrete? That Dad and I have no idea what you do with your time or your savings? Tonight of all nights, that is not a conversation I want to have with a federal judge." She went on for another minute or two, cataloging the accomplishments of my older sister, my cousins, my friends from college. Everyone had something, a title, a firm, a promotion. My cousin Stuart had just been made vice president at an investment bank. My cousin Lydia was a senior partner at a consulting group. And then there was me. My mother did not say the words out loud, but they lived in the spaces between everything she did say. She sighed once more, told me to at least try to look engaged, and excused herself. I checked my phone again. 11:54. 6 minutes. I stepped out onto the terrace to breathe. The garden below was manicured and still, the city glowing in the distance beyond the venue's low stone walls. I leaned against the railing and pulled up the Wall Street Journal's website on my browser. The current front page was still yesterday's edition. In 6 minutes that would change. I heard the terrace door open behind me, and my father's voice followed. "Your mother sent me out here." He said it without warmth or coldness, just fact. He joined me at the railing and stared out at the garden for a moment before speaking again. "You know, when you were in school, I was convinced you were going to do something extraordinary. You were sharper than anyone in your class, more curious, more driven. I thought I was watching someone who was going to take the world apart, and put it back together better than she found it. He paused. I let the silence hold. Then he continued, "But Alex, I cannot keep watching you drift. Tonight I had to tell people that my youngest daughter is still working things out. I am standing in a room full of accomplished professionals, and I do not have a single thing to say about you that does not sound like an apology." I looked at my phone. 11:57, 3 minutes. I told him I understood, and I meant it more than he realized, just not in the way he thought. The terrace door opened again. Vivienne stepped out with Daniel and his parents behind her. She looked mildly annoyed to find me still there. "There you are," she said. "We are doing family portraits in 10 minutes. She turned to her new in-laws with an apologetic warmth. "Sorry, my sister is a little hard to keep track of sometimes." Daniel's father, the judge, extended his hand to me with polite professionalism. "Catherine mentioned you work in business development. What field?" Before I could answer, Vivienne jumped in. "She is actually exploring new directions right now, transitioning between things." The judge nodded slowly. Daniel's mother smiled the way people smile at someone they have already categorized. "The job market is incredibly competitive. Have you thought about additional certifications? Sometimes that helps open doors." I told her I had thought about it. My phone buzzed once in my hand. Midnight. I looked down at the screen. The Wall Street Journal had refreshed. The new Sunday front page loaded in full. The headline was set in large bold text, "The Shadow Billionaire. How a 26-year-old built a tech empire nobody saw coming." Beneath it was a professional photograph taken 2 weeks ago, in my company's headquarters. Beneath that, a second line. How Brooke Alexandra Weston's cybersecurity firm quietly grew to a $4 billion valuation, while the world was looking elsewhere. I raised my eyes slowly and looked at 6 people who were waiting for me to follow them inside for photographs where I was supposed to stand in the background and look like I was trying. "Actually," I said quietly, "there is something all of you should probably see first." I held out my phone. Nobody moved for what felt like a very long time. They looked at the screen, then at me, then back at the screen. The silence was so complete I could hear the band playing inside through the glass doors. Vivienne was the first to speak. "Is that you? Is that actually you?" "It is the Journal," I said. "They do not put fictional people on their front page." My father reached out and took the phone from my hand. His fingers were not entirely steady. He read in silence for nearly 30 seconds, his eyes moving faster and faster. Then he stopped. His voice came out quieter than I had ever heard it. "This says you founded a company called Paragon Shield, that you developed a cybersecurity platform now protecting 74% of Fortune 500 companies. 76 as of last week," I said. "We closed 3 new enterprise contracts on Thursday." My mother leaned over my father's shoulder and read the screen. Her hand moved to her mouth. "It says your personal net worth is estimated at $1.6 billion, closer to 1.8 after our most recent funding round," I said. "My financial team is fairly conservative with external estimates." The terrace went absolutely still. Inside I could hear the sounds of guests beginning to check their phones. The article was already moving across social media. Within minutes it would reach everyone in that reception hall. Vivienne seemed to understand that at almost the same moment I did. Her expression shifted from disbelief to something sharper. "You planned this," she said. "You timed this for my wedding. You wanted everyone to see this happen tonight." I met her eyes calmly. "The Journal publishes their Sunday edition at midnight on Saturday. That is their standard schedule, not mine. I did not choose the date of your wedding, or the date of their publication. I just did not see any reason to skip my sister's wedding because of a business article." She shook her head. "But you let us all believe you were nothing. You stood there tonight while Mom and Dad apologized for you, while I told Daniel's parents you were between opportunities, while everyone treated you like the family disappointment, and you said nothing." "I said plenty," I replied. "Every time someone asked what I did, I said I worked in technology and security. Every time someone asked why I traveled so much, I said it was for business. No one ever asked a follow-up question, because no one believed the answer would be worth their time." The terrace doors burst open, and my cousin Stuart stumbled out, phone in hand, looking like someone had physically shaken him. "Brooke," his voice cracked, "tell me this is not real. Tell me you did not actually." He stopped when he saw everyone's faces. He looked at me. "Oh, my. You are actually." "I am," I said simply. Behind him came the rest of them, Lydia, Aunt Darlene, Uncle Raymond, filing onto the terrace with phones raised, voices overlapping, the entire carefully ordered social hierarchy of my family, suddenly scrambling to recalibrate around a fact none of them had been prepared for. Daniel's father, the judge, had recovered his composure first. He studied me with a kind of professional reassessment, the way someone looks at evidence they underestimated. The article mentions you testified before a Senate subcommittee on infrastructure security last year. I did, I confirmed. Twice, actually. The second time was regarding state-sponsored network infiltration and the vulnerabilities in domestic financial systems. He nodded slowly, processing. Daniel's mother was quieter now, the practiced sympathy completely gone from her expression, replaced by something more genuine and considerably more uncomfortable. She did not say anything further. She did not need to. Uncle Raymond stepped forward with a smile that had not been there 20 minutes ago. Alexandra, sweetheart. His voice had gone warm and smooth in a way I recognized immediately. We have to sit down soon. I have some ventures I think someone in your position would find genuinely interesting. No thank you, I said. He blinked. But you have not even heard. I know, I said. And my answer is still no. I have a team of financial advisors who evaluate every investment opportunity through rigorous analysis. I do not make decisions at family events based on pitches from people who referred to me as directionless 3 hours ago. He stepped back like I had pushed him. Aunt Darlene tried a different approach, her entire tone rewritten in real time. Alexandra, darling, I had absolutely no idea you were doing such important work. If someone had told me, I would have been your biggest supporter all along. You remember at Christmas a couple of years ago, I mentioned I thought you had real potential? I remembered Christmas. You told the woman next to you at dinner that I was a cautionary tale about wasted education. I said it without venom, just accuracy. Her smile went rigid. Vivian was crying now, quietly, her wedding gown catching the terrace light as her shoulders moved. You made this about you, she said. This was supposed to be my night, and now everyone in there is going to spend the rest of the evening talking about you. I am not the one who published the article, I said gently. I did not call any reporters. I did not post anything online. The world found out about my company tonight because the Wall Street Journal decided to run their story on their regular schedule. I cannot control that. But Vivian, I was going to be here regardless. I was not going to miss your wedding because of business news. Daniel put his arm around her and looked at me with an expression I could not fully read. I think it would probably be best if you gave her some space for the rest of the evening. I nodded. I think that is right. I was already heading inside. The wedding planner intercepted me before I reached the main doors. Miss Weston, there are news crews outside, 4 vans that we can see. Several dozen photographers. Someone on the guest list must have tipped them off once the article started trending. I will go out the front, I said. She looked startled. Are you certain? Marcus, my head of security, had appeared at the edge of the hall and was already moving toward me. He confirmed the situation with a quiet word. Multiple outlets. Growing crowd. We can extract from the service exit if you want to avoid them. Let them see me, I said. There is no point in disappearing now. He nodded once and spoke into his radio. We moved toward the front entrance. The doors opened onto a wall of white light and noise. Dozens of questions hit me simultaneously, voices layering over each other. I stood at the top of the steps and waited for a moment of quiet. When it came, I spoke clearly. I built my company over 4 years with an extraordinary team behind me. I kept it private because I valued the work more than the attention. The Wall Street Journal article tells that story far more completely than I could in a parking lot tonight. That is all I have to say. Thank you. Marcus guided me to the waiting vehicle, and the door closed behind me, swallowing the noise. The SUV pulled away from the venue. My phone, which I had silenced earlier, showed 1,900 unread messages in the first 40 seconds. My publicist had texted 11 times, my CFO had sent a voice memo. My head of communications had sent a single message in all capitals that essentially confirmed the internet was having a moment on our behalf. I turned the phone face down and watched the city move past the window. Where to, Miss Weston? The driver asked. The office, I said. I need to think. Marcus glanced back from the front seat. It is after midnight. You could rest first. Tomorrow would be fine. I will rest after Monday, I said. We drove through the quiet streets toward the downtown building that housed Paragon Shield's headquarters. I had built that company in 4 years from a single idea and an early team of 8 people who believed in the technology before anyone else did. I had taken meetings in airport lounges, built client relationships across 14 countries, testified before committees, and negotiated contracts worth hundreds of millions of dollars, all while my family assumed I was wandering aimlessly through life without purpose. My phone buzzed one final time before I fully silenced it. A message from my father. It came in slowly, like he had typed it carefully and deleted it several times before sending. I do not know how to fix what happened tonight, but I want to try. Please give me the chance. I read the message twice. Then I wrote back 3 sentences. I am not angry with you. I understand why you saw what you saw, but I need you to understand that I would have been the same person tonight, whether the journal had published that article or not. The only thing that changed was the information you had access to, not who I actually am. I sent it before I could revise it. The elevator opened onto the top floor of my building. Floor-to-ceiling windows looked out over the city in every direction. My desk sat at the center of the room, covered in reports and strategy documents and the evidence of everything I had been building while my family thought I was lost. I sat down and opened my laptop. There was real work to do before morning. Interviews to coordinate, client communications to prepare, a board call to arrange. The world had learned something tonight that I had known for 4 years, and now everything would move faster and louder for a while. But underneath all of it, something else sat quietly in my chest. Not triumph, not the satisfaction of being proven right in the most public possible way. Just a simple, tired clarity. I had spent years wondering if I needed them to believe in me to feel whole. Standing in that office with the city spread out beneath me, I realized I had already answered that question without noticing. I had built all of this without their faith, and it turned out that was not a tragedy. It was the whole point. I did not need to be believed in to become something worth believing in. I just needed to keep working. And tomorrow, that is exactly what I planned to do.